right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a look at a concept that literally takes just seconds to read, but honestly, a lifetime to master. It's called the architecture of optimism, and we are going to unpack exactly what that means. Think of it not just as a catchy title, but as a literal set of schematics for how we construct our daily reality.
So, before we look at the actual blueprint, I want to ask you something. Have you actually listened to yourself today? And no, I don't mean the words coming out of your mouth in your morning meetings or when you're chatting with friends. I mean that quiet running commentary inside your head. You see, if your mind is a construction site, sometimes that inner voice acts like an uninvited, just terrible contractor who moved in and started making unauthorized changes to your mindset. You know the one, using cheap materials, complaining about the weather, and generally telling you the roof is going to cave in at any second. Well, today, we're going to learn exactly how to fire that contractor.
Okay, phase one of our project, the foundation.
Looking back at the title of our source text, The Architecture of Optimism, I really love that word, architecture. It completely frames optimism as something you intentionally design. It's not just some fleeting, happy feeling you magically wake up with, right? It's not a lucky lottery ticket of brain chemistry. Architecture requires planning. It requires measuring and building block by block. Optimism, according to this text, is a structure you actively have to build and maintain yourself. Which brings us to the absolutely crucial first instruction from the text, practice positive thinking. Notice that word practice. This is the foundational concrete for everything we're trying to build here. You can't just do positive thinking once on a random Tuesday and suddenly the building is finished forever. No way. You practice it. You pour the concrete daily. It's this active, repetitive discipline that creates a really stable base, so that when the heavy winds of daily stress inevitably come along, your mindset stays rock solid.
Moving right along to phase two, the inspection.
To properly inspect a building, you've got to know what materials you're working with, right? Well, our source points us directly to our internal language. Think of this as the specific words and the ongoing narrative we use when we're thinking and speaking to ourselves. If positive thinking is the concrete foundation, your internal language makes up the load-bearing walls of your daily outlook. And obviously, if those walls are built with brittle, weak, or toxic words, the entire structure of your optimism is completely compromised. And here, the source material gives us two critical words: pay attention. Now, I know that sounds super obvious, but it's an explicit directive for a reason. Most of the time, we aren't inspecting the site at all. Our internal language is just running on autopilot in the background. So to build the architecture of optimism, you literally have to grab your hard hat, walk the site of your own mind, and act as a strict inspector. You have to actively listen to the quality of the materials, the thoughts you're letting through the gate every single minute. And that brings us to our final phase, the renovation. The source text actually gives us this incredibly simple two-step methodology to completely shift your mindset. Step one, like we just talked about, pay attention to your internal language so you can spot those structural flaws. And step two, replace negative words. You don't just leave rotten wood in the wall and hope it holds up, right? You have to actively pull it out and swap it for something stronger. Now, what's really fascinating here is the active renovation part, tearing out those negative words and installing more positive ones. The text doesn't say to just ignore the bad stuff, it says replace it. It's a literal manual swap. So when your internal contractor starts complaining, I can't handle this, you catch it, you tear it right out, and you install, I am going to figure this out. You are literally changing the structural integrity of your mindset, word by word, beam by beam. So let's look at the complete daily blueprint we've pulled from the text. It gives you a really clear three-part checklist for your own mental maintenance. Number one, practice positive thinking. Pour that foundation every single day. Number two, pay attention to your internal language. Always, always run your inspections. And number three, replace negative words with more positive ones. Do the necessary renovations the absolute second you spot a flaw. It's a remarkably short text, but when you actually apply it, it's a completely comprehensive manual for total mental resilience. Which leaves us with this final, kind of provocative thought. What kind of structure is your current internal language building? Seriously, if you look closely at the exact words you've been speaking to yourself today, are you building a sturdy, weatherproof fortress of optimism? Or is it a fragile shack just waiting to collapse under the slightest pressure? I challenge you to take this blueprint we've explored today and apply it to your very next thought. Be your own architect. Grab your hard hat and get to work.